Just minutes before a major royal event, King Charles abruptly pulled out, leaving guests stunned and insiders scrambling. But it wasn't illness, travel, or diplomacy that caused the last-second decision. Sources say it was Camilla. The Queen Consort was scheduled to appear alongside him, and at the final moment, Charles said no. The palace stayed silent, but the message was loud. Now royal watchers are asking, is the king quietly distancing himself from his own queen? The sudden cancellation. It was supposed to be a highly anticipated royal appearance, one of King Charles's most public engagements of the season. But just minutes before the event was due to begin, everything changed. The king, without warning, pulled out. Guests were already arriving. The press was lined up. Royal aides scrambled. The official statement came swiftly, but gave very little away. The palace cited an urgent schedule change, with no further explanation. It was abrupt, vague, and left the public and royal watchers stunned. Inside the venue, confusion turned to chaos. Staff whispered about protocol issues. Journalists began packing up their equipment, calling editors with updates. The atmosphere shifted from regal to tense in seconds. But within the hour, rumors began to swirl. This wasn't a simple schedule conflict. It wasn't health-related either, some said. According to multiple online sources and insiders, the real reason behind the cancellation was far more personal: to avoid appearing alongside Queen Camilla. The king and Camilla were both expected at the event. But something changed, suddenly and decisively, and the public, already familiar with quiet royal tensions, didn't miss the implication. It wasn't just a cancellation, it was a message, said one royal commentator. The royal family rarely makes last-minute moves. So when the king walks away from a stage already set, something is brewing. And this time, it wasn't just behind closed doors. It played out in real time, with the world watching. What the official statement actually said. The official communication from Buckingham Palace was as polished as ever, but unusually empty. It described the king's cancellation as an unforeseen adjustment to royal commitments. No further detail, no mention of Camilla, not even a hint at illness or scheduling conflicts. To seasoned royal watchers, that kind of careful vagueness sends a signal. The palace often uses this style when it's trying to protect personal matters or downplay internal friction. It was clear something had happened, but no one was saying what. Interestingly, the statement emphasized continuity of royal duties despite the cancellation. Some experts interpreted this as an effort to keep the king's image intact, suggesting that responsibility, not drama, drove the decision. But others weren't convinced. The fact that Camilla's name wasn't mentioned at all, despite her expected appearance, only added to the speculation. When a royal statement avoids names, it's often because the names are the problem, one former royal aide commented. The palace may have hoped the story would fade quietly, but in the age of real-time reaction and social media frenzy, silence only feeds the fire. This wasn't just about a vague cancellation. It was about what or who the statement refused to mention. And that's where the real story begins. Was this about image or health? In recent months, King Charles's health has been under the spotlight, especially following public confirmation of his cancer diagnosis. Every royal outing is now carefully planned, with limited exposure, reduced durations, and medical guidance behind the scenes. So, when this last-minute cancellation happened, some naturally assumed it was health-related. But royal insiders quickly pushed back on that theory. The king had attended multiple events recently without issue. His appearance at a diplomatic dinner just days earlier had shown him in good spirits, fully engaged. That contrast raised a question. If he was well enough then, why not now? What made things more curious was that, on the same day of the cancellation, Charles was reported to be holding a private meeting at Windsor Castle. No details were released about who attended or what was discussed, but the timing was hard to ignore. Many close observers began to suggest this wasn't a health issue at all, but instead a strategic move, possibly to avoid a public appearance with Camilla. "It's not about whether he could attend, it's about whether he wanted to," said one royal journalist. Was this an image control tactic? A quiet response to pressure behind palace walls? Or a subtle form of resistance wrapped in protocol? Whatever the reason, it didn't feel accidental, and it certainly didn't feel like a simple schedule conflict. The context. Charles skips. Other events with Camilla. This wasn't the first time something like this happened, and that's why it caused such a stir. Just weeks prior, King Charles had appeared at a solemn engagement, representing the crown in a formal, reflective setting, while Camilla attended a separate, celebratory event elsewhere. The contrast between their appearances didn't go unnoticed. Royal watchers noted how Charles appeared serious and reserved, while Camilla smiled and mingled, leading to headlines that questioned whether their public priorities were still in sync. That moment, quietly brushed off at the time, suddenly gained new weight. Was it a sign of divergent paths? Was the king intentionally distancing himself? Sources within the palace suggested that strategic differences may have been growing. Charles, known for his measured tone and long-term vision, may be reassessing how often and when he shares the spotlight, especially if Camilla's presence draws too much attention or stirs uncomfortable reminders of the past. They don't always have to be on different schedules, but recently they are, a royal insider commented. And with public perception more delicate than ever, every appearance or cancellation carries symbolic meaning. This wasn't just about skipping an event, it was about what the absence revealed. A pattern was forming, and the distance between the king and queen, once subtle, now seemed impossible to ignore. Camilla's role in recent royal engagements. Over the past year, Queen Camilla has remained a visible and active figure in the royal calendar. From state visits to charitable galas, she's often stood alongside King Charles as a symbol of continuity and royal unity. Her presence is usually framed as supportive, poised, and experienced, a stabilizing figure for the modern monarchy. But not everyone sees it that way. Some critics argue that Camilla's frequent appearances have begun to shift the spotlight, turning moments meant for the monarchy into moments focused on her. Whether intentional or not, her presence sometimes overshadows key messages or distracts from broader royal objectives, especially in events tied to succession planning or public strategy. Insiders say Charles has noticed this shift. While publicly, he has always defended Camilla's role, behind closed doors there are whispers of tension about how much visibility she should have and when. "She's not just attending, she's shaping perception," said a royal analyst. This perception has sparked internal discussions. Is Camilla's involvement bolstering the monarchy's image or complicating it? And is the king beginning to pull back, not out of disrespect, but out of caution? These questions have grown louder in the wake of the cancellation, fueling theories that it wasn't just about the event, but about who was expected to stand beside him when the cameras rolled. Rumors of internal friction. With Camilla's role becoming more prominent and sometimes controversial, it was only a matter of time before the rumors of palace friction surfaced again. According to multiple sources and commentators, behind-the-scenes disagreements have started to spill into public conversation. Some claim Camilla has been pushing Charles on key matters, including personnel changes, media strategy, and even decisions involving royal protocol. These claims remain unverified, but they've taken on a life of their own in the press and on social platforms. The narrative taking hold is this: Camilla's influence may be extending further than expected, and not everyone inside the palace is on board. The sudden cancellation of an event where both she and the king were set to appear has only amplified speculation that the monarch is taking quiet steps to reassert control. It's not rebellion, it's recalibration, one source close to the palace reportedly said. Some believe this was damage control, designed to ease tensions or reset internal dynamics before things spill further. Others think it was a subtle but deliberate move, a way for Charles to signal that certain boundaries need to be restored. True or not, the rumors have reached a tipping point. The public doesn't need confirmation. They've already drawn conclusions. And once that happens, even silence becomes part of the story. Because in the royal family, what you don't say is often louder than what you do. The press reaction. The media didn't waste a second. They pounced. Within hours of King Charles's shocking last-minute cancellation, every major outlet across the UK and beyond had one burning question splashed across headlines. Was this really about Camilla? Some didn't even bother with subtlety. One tabloid led with the brutal headline, "Avoiding the Queen?" plastered in bold across its morning edition. Others called it what it looked like, the royal no-show. Charles walks away and monarchy in motion. Across the board, coverage leaned into speculation and symbolism. Photos of the empty venue, paired next to past images of Camilla smiling beside the king, dominated the front pages. The contrast was deliberate. The message was loud. This wasn't ordinary. Tabloids ramped up the drama, calling it a retreat behind the palace walls or a crack in the royal mirror. Some even questioned whether the monarchy was teetering on a fresh crisis, painting the king as a man torn between duty and discomfort. But it wasn't just the gossip rags. Respected royal analysts and veteran commentators also weighed in, albeit more carefully. Many urged restraint, noting that the royal calendar is often adjusted for complex reasons, especially concerning Charles's recent health issues. But even these seasoned voices couldn't ignore one detail: the bizarre silence. The official palace statement had no mention of illness, no logistical explanation, and, most notably, no reference to Camilla. That omission, experts agreed, was louder than any confirmation. No mention of health, no mention of Camilla, just silence. That speaks volumes, one royal correspondent told the BBC. In the world of royal communications, what's unsaid often matters more than what is. And in this case, the omission sparked 1,000 theories. As the media blitzed forward, the public began to split. Some clung to the palace's version, chalking it up to a last-minute scheduling change. But others, especially longtime royal watchers, believed something deeper was playing out. A personal decision, a calculated move, a deliberate distancing, not just from an event, but possibly from Camilla herself. The pressure mounted. Analysts began recalling past moments of tension. Others pointed to growing chatter around Charles's inner circle, a team that has reportedly grown more image-conscious, more cautious, and more willing to act quickly if optics don't align with strategy. And just like that, a cancelled appearance transformed. No longer just a moment of royal inconvenience, it became a symbol, a possible glimpse into a monarchy shifting its gears, navigating not just tradition, but personal alliances and fragile perception. Because in the world of royalty, every absence tells a story. And this one, it's far from over. Public response and social media buzz. While the mainstream media set the initial tone, it was the public who set the conversation on fire. Within minutes of the event's cancellation, social media platforms, from X to Instagram, Facebook, and especially TikTok, became ground zero for speculation. Hashtags like hashtag Where is Camilla, hashtag Royal No Show, and hashtag King Cancels began trending by the hour. Twitter threads exploded with fan theories, body language analysis, and old clip re-uploads, all piecing together a story that no palace press release could erase. Side-by-side images of King Charles at previous events, some with Camilla, others without, began circulating widely. Many were captioned with phrases like, "alone again," and "not this time." One viral image montage showed 5 moments from the past year where Charles appeared solo, followed by a simple question: pattern or coincidence? Royal fan pages split into 2 distinct camps. One group, often older, traditional royalists, defended Queen Camilla's role, calling her a pillar of quiet support who had stood by Charles through decades of scrutiny. They praised her strength, elegance, and tolerance through public adversity. The other group, dominated by younger royal watchers, saw something entirely different. To them, this wasn't just a cancellation. It was Charles making a choice to draw a line, to separate his sovereign image from the controversies Camilla still carries, and to make a statement without uttering a single word. "Charles is finally drawing the line," one viral tweet read. "The monarchy isn't just about loyalty. It's about survival." TikTok creators dove deep, posting 60-second breakdowns of past public engagements where Charles and Camilla seemed distant or divided. Some analyzed eye contact, seating arrangements, and press behavior. A few even stitched older news clips of Diana, juxtaposing them against recent footage of Camilla, drawing emotional connections that reignited decades-old wounds. On Instagram, royal-themed pages posted archived footage of moments that seemed harmless at the time, but now, in light of the cancellation, were reinterpreted as early signs of tension. Stories flooded in with captions like, "How did we miss this?" and "It was right in front of us." It's not just a cancellation, it's a statement, and we all saw it. One post with over 24,000 likes echoed across platforms. Even those who typically ignore royal news chimed in, pulled into the drama by its eerie silence and emotional undercurrent. This wasn't just gossip anymore. It had become a cultural flashpoint, a moment where history, emotion, and legacy collided. It wasn't about protocol, it was about perception. And the palace's silence, instead of stopping the conversation, only intensified it. Because when the King of England suddenly disappears from an official event, and the Queen Consort's name quietly surfaces in every rumor, the people don't wait for confirmation. They decide the story themselves. The monarchy's narrative may start behind palace gates, but once it hits the internet, it belongs to everyone. Contrasting Charles's recent events. In the weeks leading up to the sudden cancellation, King Charles had shown absolutely no signs of slowing down. Despite ongoing concerns about his health and the natural demands of his age, he remained visibly active. He hosted foreign dignitaries, led key charity galas, and appeared at state functions with his usual composed energy. Even international coverage praised his renewed focus and stamina, given the weight of his responsibilities. At nearly every one of these engagements, Queen Camilla stood beside him, polished, smiling, and performing her role as consort with experienced grace. The image presented was clear: a united royal couple, navigating the challenges of a modern monarchy side by side. Which is why this last-second withdrawal from a major event raised eyebrows. It broke the pattern, it challenged the image, and it triggered the one question that echoed across newsrooms and royal circles alike. What changed? Analysts began comparing footage and photos from recent events. At engagements where Charles and Camilla appeared together, body language experts pointed out a certain stiffness, a formality that looked rehearsed. But in solo appearances, Charles came across as more comfortable, more focused, and less burdened by the performative pressures of unity. It's subtle, but it's there. The energy shifts when he's alone, said one former royal correspondent. Some began to speculate. Was the king beginning to prefer solo spotlight moments? Not out of spite, but perhaps as a calculated step toward reframing the monarchy's public narrative. This idea gained momentum quickly. The cancellation wasn't just seen as a disruption, it was framed as a message sent without words. One that possibly hinted at a new strategy: managing appearances more tightly, choosing moments more deliberately, and perhaps even redefining his public connection with Camilla. Others noted that this wasn't just about personal comfort, it was about optics. Public sentiment around Camilla, though improved, remains complicated. Her association with the most turbulent chapters in modern royal history still lingers. Charles, deeply aware of the weight his image now carries as monarch, may be beginning to shape his legacy more assertively and more selectively. He's always been careful with image, a royal expert said, but lately he's been calculated. There's intent behind every step. In an era where every movement is recorded, dissected, and shared in seconds, the stakes of perception are higher than ever. The king knows this, and so, when a last-minute cancellation breaks the usual flow, it no longer feels like a mistake. It feels like a move on a larger chessboard. Because in the House of Windsor, there are no coincidences, only carefully choreographed moments, and the rare, deliberate silences that say more than words ever could. What this might mean for the future. This wasn't just a blip on the royal calendar. It may mark the start of a seismic shift in how King Charles steers his reign going forward. While the cancellation was wrapped in polite language and vague protocol, those watching closely saw something deeper. A strategic pause, not a simple scheduling conflict. Whether it was driven by personal tension, internal pressure, or a desire to silently rebalance royal dynamics, the meaning is unmistakable. Something inside the palace has shifted, and it's pointing toward a recalibration of roles, relationships, and public priorities. Multiple royal analysts believe the king may now be quietly redefining his public partnerships, and Camilla might be the first to feel the effect. This could mean fewer shared appearances, especially at high-profile or symbolic events. Events that traditionally would have featured the monarch and queen consort side by side might now see Charles standing alone, or standing with his heir, Prince William, and the ever-reliable Princess Catherine. It's not just about distance, it's about optics. Since his coronation, Charles has struggled to completely win over the public, particularly those still loyal to the memory of Princess Diana. Camilla's growing visibility, though presented as duty, has sometimes drawn criticism, especially among younger and international audiences. By pulling back, Charles may be reasserting control over how the monarchy presents itself to the world. Behind palace walls, this shift may already be in motion. Planning teams are adjusting engagement schedules. Royal press offices are carefully scripting appearances, and senior courtiers are said to be revisiting role assignments. And every time Charles is seen without Camilla, the message grows louder. The partnership may still exist privately, but publicly, the throne is evolving. Others suggest this could open the door for William and Catherine to take center stage more deliberately, aligning with the public's overwhelming support for them. The couple represents stability, modern values, and continuity. The exact image the monarchy needs in uncertain times. The royal family is built on tradition, said one historian, but when tradition starts clashing with perception, something has to give. And now, perception is winning. The king's decision, whether temporary or permanent, has set a new tone, one that cannot be easily undone. If this was truly a move away from Camilla, the public won't forget it. If it was part of a broader palace pivot, it could reshape how the monarchy presents its power, unity, and future. Whatever happens next, one thing is clear. This cancellation wasn't just a missed event. It was a measured, calculated silence. And in the royal world, silence always speaks loudest. This may not just be the next chapter for the monarchy. It could be the beginning of a rewrite. This wasn't just a missed event. It was a warning shot, one that could signal a shift in royal dynamics. King Charles's sudden decision to back out, especially with Camilla involved, isn't being seen as coincidence. It's being viewed as strategy. Whether it's a one-time statement or the start of a broader reset, the timing, silence, and fallout say everything. For Camilla, it places her under renewed scrutiny, a role she's fought hard to stabilize. For Charles, it shows a monarch willing to act on instinct, image, or both. And for the public, it raises uncomfortable questions. Who holds influence? Who's being protected? And what happens next? Because after this cancellation, one thing is clear. The unity of the crown may not be as untouchable as it once seemed. And the king's silence? It speaks louder than ever.